This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
All right, Real Talkers, I'm going to be honest with you. We thought about calling this episode Make Alberta Rich Again, but I just wasn't sure. I thought from a clickbait standpoint, it probably would work and we would see return on our vernacular investment, but those of you that may be intrigued by what we were going to offer up here. But the parallels, the implications, the innuendo just wouldn't be what we're looking for because, number one, we're not moving in that Trumpian direction, so to speak. As a matter of fact, all we're going to be talking about today is investing in bridge building, relationships, the value of these partnerships, vision, and also, it's not like Alberta's really hit the ditch at all. We're talking about elevating the province that we call home, the province that drives Canada's economic engine. And of course, I don't have to explain to you the contributions that Alberta makes to Canada's economy from coast to coast to coast. So there's no again here, but we are talking about riches in this very special episode of the show featuring a municipal action plan that's just been put in front of Edmontonians and a plan that's been in action down in Calgary already, providing return on that investment. In our feature interview today, presented by our friends at Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West, we're pleased to be speaking to spokespersons, to influencers, to those that are impacting the economy and the communities around them by way of the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Association in Edmonton, and the city of Calgary. We'll kick it off with she who put this in front of us. This is the municipal action plan that's just been released by the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. VP there, Heather Thomson. Welcome back to the show. It's nice to see you here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us in our Real Talk studio in the historic Mercer Warehouse in downtown Edmonton. There's a reason why we're here. There's a reason why I know that the Edmonton Chamber's headquarters are downtown as well. It's got to feel good to get something like this municipal action plan out and right on people's radar.
Yeah, we're really excited. We've been working on this with our members in the business community for quite some time, as we know when the municipal election is going to be called. So we're really excited that it's here, and we're ready to use it for the next 55 days until the municipal election.
October 20th. Everybody's got it circled on their calendars.
Yep.
All right, good stuff. Well, Puneeta McBryan, CEO at the Downtown Business Association. This is something, obviously, you've been advocating for investment in downtown. You've been talking to people about what it takes, of course, to kickstart things. Now, I should be clear, and we're going to define what we mean by rich and what we mean by riches. But also on an interesting angle here, you've also announced publicly that you're going to be moving on career-wise in the next couple of months. So I would imagine that you're feeling like you've got a couple of months left in this role to really put your stamp on a couple of things that I would imagine you've been working on for quite some time.
Yeah, no pressure or anything.
No.
But I'm going to be done in October, shortly after the election. And this is really critical. Like, we hear about the economy all the time and politics, but we're usually talking about industry. We're talking about oil and gas. We're talking about mining. We're talking about tech and AI. Agriculture, which are critically important to Alberta's economy. We don't talk enough about how cities are key drivers of our economy. We are economic engines in our cities, and how critical it is that we get our economies sorted out in our big cities and our medium-sized cities, because as far as property taxes go and running a city, and cities not going bankrupt. Not that they legally can, but you get the idea.
Some have come close.
I
remember the story of Detroit back in the day.
Yes, well, American cities literally can go bankrupt.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a different context.
Apples and oranges.
But we are in dire straits here. And so something like what the Chambers put forward and what Aaron Paquette was just here talking about.
Yeah, a few episodes ago.
Is how we've got to dig ourselves out of this
Okay,
hole.
I want to circle back and ask you about the Paquette interview and sort of what jumped out at you. But let's welcome our guest out of my home city of Calgary, Thom Mahler, the director of downtown strategy. Thom's leading the team responsible for stewarding Calgary's $400+ million investment to build a thriving, future-focused downtown. I like that. Thom's got more than 30 years of experience in city planning at the municipal government level in Alberta, in Ontario, in BC, doing a ton of stuff there, including urban design, policy planning, economic development. Thom, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
You know, when we talk about riches, when we talk about economic drivers, what's your perspective, and how has the city of Calgary taken on this mandate?
Well, I think for the city of Calgary, a big part of what we were doing really played into the conversation council was having about long-term financial sustainability for the city of Calgary. And our biggest issue went back to 2014, which was when the oil prices crashed in Alberta and our downtown hollowed out. And we ended up with a $16 billion loss in property value in our downtown core. And so for a municipality that relies heavily on property tax to drive revenue to provide services citywide, when your biggest asset, being the downtown core, takes that kind of hit, you need to pick up the slack elsewhere in the city, including other commercial properties, industrial properties. And then the knock-on effect is that residential property taxes also are under pressure. So it's really a question of how a municipality funds its services on a citywide basis, and what role, and in my case, it was dealing with what role does the downtown play, and how do we build it back so that the city can continue to experience the level of service that it was accustomed to and grow. As you were talking earlier in the discussion, we're still trying to grow our municipality as well and grow our economy, and downtowns play a huge part in that.
So Tom's talking to us about 2014 in Calgary, but some of those key storylines, or at least the scene setter that he provides, about a loss in property values downtown, including obviously commercial properties, maybe some vacancy issues, a loss in property tax revenue from that downtown core. Fast forward 11 years, it's kind of the identical conversation that we're having in Alberta's capital city, like right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things, and we've been working a lot with the DBA and a lot of other groups and to make sure that we have the right municipal investment into the downtown core. So we're almost treating the city more like a business, because there's only so much revenue that a city can actually build on its own. And what we were seeing is that so much of the tax burden was going to property owners or industrial tax base, and therefore we were not competitive with the region. So we're losing out on lots of opportunity just because, and you look around the city of Edmonton, there's 12 other municipalities that are being more competitive because they're different. They're making their tax base different. And one of the big things that Edmonton has that a lot of the other regions don't have is a downtown. And so when we're looking at the loss of property value, we're looking at billions of dollars in lost asset value. And with that, we don't have the tax revenue. We went from it representing 10% of our tax base to
less than 6
less
or around
than 6,
6.
Yeah,
5.4%.
was saying right around 5. So I mean, essentially, put it this way, cut in half.
Cut in half. And so who's shouldering that burden? Edmontonians. And so therefore we need to figure out a different way to do this. And so with the municipal action plan, what we wanted to see were a bunch of regulations and fiscal policies that we've seen work in other communities. So when we went to go make this, we found data. We looked at different American counterparts as well as the city of Calgary. We saw there's actual proof in science that these fiscal policies make such a difference. And therefore we can see the word rich. We see it in the word of rich in opportunity, rich in vibrancy. And so I think that's one of those things that when we use that word rich, wealth can beget wealth, and we want every business to do well. And so this is one of those things that when we look at this and we put this municipal action plan in front of different elected officials and just the business community in general, we want to make sure we're all on the same page. So when people are making decisions, they're able to do so thinking about the economy.
Okay, so we're looking at edmontonchamber.com. We'll link to it, the municipal action plan, in the show notes and the podcast on YouTube so people can check it out. You say at the Chamber of Commerce, we believe this city should be rich in every sense of the word. Yeah. Rich in opportunity, rich in vibrancy, rich in ideas, rich in what it delivers for the people who live here, work here, and do business here. The plan outlines what the next city council must prioritize to help make Edmonton rich. Thom, you talk about like a loss in services, or you talk about the services that Calgarians have become accustomed to. No city wants to either take a step back or be perceived to taking a step back. So I guess, the impetus, there's a sense of urgency really to any plan. Were there any specific strategic actions or anything that the city of Calgary put into play that returned dividends almost immediately?
Well, probably not returned immediately. I mean, the one thing we did do for right after 2014, once we had this tax shift, is what we called it, to properties outside the downtown core, the city had to subsidize and offset that impact to business, because similar to what they were saying earlier, our businesses were immediately uncompetitive. They had to pay property taxes that other people in the region didn't have to pay, or in other cities, and it significantly impacted the city. Immediate thing was to take some of our funds and to offset that impact on them. But when the economy didn't return and downtown values didn't look like they were going to come back like they always did, well, we said, well, at some point you have to take that money and invest it in things that will return. That offset tax incentive was not going to grow our economy. So we started investing in programs that would generate a return in the longer term. And there's a couple of examples of that. One being the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund, which is a fund that was set up to invest in private sector companies to grow and diversify our economy. And the other one was a office conversion program that was designed to reinvigorate investment in a flailing office core. So those are the two programs that we've really seen some results in now, 5 years into some of these programs.
So Puneeta, Heather talks about how there have been, Calgary, obviously it's been paying off and it's been working. Tom's given us the details on that. Heather talks about other municipalities in the region that have been taking steps or innovative approaches, or at least been able to pivot or adjust, and it's returning investment. Has Edmonton been on an island in a bad way? Has Edmonton either failed to adjust or failed to think big? Or what's your assessment from somebody outside of the politics of it all, but still very involved in the politics of it all?
Yeah, that's a great question. I first want to say I don't want to give the surrounding counties and municipalities too much credit. I don't think they've had to do much to take advantage. The reality is, to build a strong industrial tax base, like get a lot of industrial businesses, you just need land and roads and power and water. And they've got a ton of all those things. So, they don't have 1 million people to serve in their cities. They don't have, dozens of rec centers and parks and all these things that are very, and, 5 figures of roads to maintain. Like, the city of Edmonton is fiscally way more disadvantaged than all the surrounding municipalities. Like Strathcona County, Nisku, Industrial Heartland, like they don't have to do much to be competitive. So it's not that, other places are doing more and Edmonton's doing less. It's that Edmonton is seriously disadvantaged by the burden of how many services we have to deliver and how many citizens we have to service. Okay. So we're at a serious disadvantage as Edmonton to be competitive. So we do just have to do more. And to answer your question, we're way behind. We're way behind. And it's easy to say that. Thom pointed out that Calgary has been seeing this and raising the alarms and feeling the pain for a decade now. Like, it has been since 2014, 2015 that they've been like getting this in motion. And now they're getting to see, hey, North America, look at what we've done. Look at how we've turned our downtown around and really focused in on our economy. We in Edmonton have only been really feeling this in a meaningful way since the pandemic. So since 2020, it was immediately clear when I started this job in December 2020. Do we drop F-bombs on this show?
You always fucking do, yeah.
Okay. Since 2020, when I started, it was like, oh, we're fucked. Like, it didn't take long to realize that this was not going to be a complete rebound. And so now it's been 5 years and we haven't done enough, although we do have a new downtown action plan that's really promising. And that's one of your actions that the Chamber is recommending. Like, let's get this thing fully implemented because it has a lot of the right things in there. But we're way behind.
Okay. I'm going to ask the question to you and for Heather in just a sec, but sometimes I think the outside perspective provides great value. Thom, kind of get the assessment, it seems, for every year that I've been aware, is that Calgary's kind of the white collar, like the corporate HQ. That's where a lot of the oil and gas business is happening. It's where a lot of the commerce is happening. Then Edmonton's kind of had this reputation, more of the blue collar town for sure from the services side, but obviously a lot of like government jobs, a lot of public sector jobs. Your assessment of the two cities as best you can. Why do you think that Edmonton didn't feel such a crunch during the oil crisis? Why do you think that it maybe wasn't on Edmonton's radar as much? Did that insulation end up hurting the capital city in a way where Calgary had no choice but to feel the urgency?
Well, probably in part. I grew up in Winnipeg, actually, which is, it's the corporate and the academic and the government capital of Manitoba, and so it always is kind of insulated. But Winnipeg's a city that almost never takes immediate action. It doesn't leap into it because it doesn't have to. It has a real stable tax base. They have challenges, but the city is never going to disappear. It's not competing with another city directly, and I think in some ways Edmonton has that. One of the great things about Edmonton is it has a resilient tax base. It has an economy with the post-secondary. It has government, and it also has a dynamic business environment. Maybe a little bit more on the industrial side. We do have more of that white-collar corporate. But the biggest thing about Calgary is we had the largest concentration of office per capita in North America. We were so reliant on office buildings for our property tax revenue. And we were sitting on a landmine if we ever lost that value, and we did. The hope was that it would never happen, and I think that's probably the difference. Is we had a shock, and we had a come to Jesus moment where our business sector came to council and said, we are flyover country. Nobody wants to invest in Calgary anymore. Nobody sees an opportunity. Our day is done. And people said that with a certain amount of schadenfreude. People were happy to see Calgary suffering.
Sure.
And that gets people's back up, and it means our business sector. And we are, it's a bit of sometimes a cliche, but we are a maverick entrepreneurial center. People leapt into action, and our government, to its credit, we listened to that action. And we were very aligned with how that response was. And we just dusted ourselves up. And we continue to this day, going back to 2014, to work so closely with the private sector. It's very much a team Calgary environment. That's what Calgary Economic Development calls us. And that's been, one of the benefits of our particular climate within the Calgary area.
Heather, you've been nodding the whole time Thom's been talking.
I just like the team. I like that word and that collaboration. And I think that is something that from the Chamber's perspective, we want to see a lot more. We want to see the business community involved in a lot of the municipal decisions. So to Puneeta's point, when we're looking at, what sort of levers are there within the economy, the city administration, the elected officials is a huge part of that. And I think one of the things that we, from the business community standpoint, have been a little disappointed with is the lack of involvement. And the lack of really trusting those experts in the business world, and using that word team, collaborating with them to make sure that when we're making decisions, fiscal policies from a city perspective, we're looking to the business community for support and answers, and not just surface level engagement. We want to see the action that come out of it. So throughout our municipal action plan, we're calling for a lot of that. We started to see a little bit of it, in the last year working with the city, which has been awesome. And I think that's where we started to see a lot of movement with the downtown action plan and a lot of business support and feedback within that program. So one of the things that we're really hoping that we're going to see is a lot more of, I'll say, working in parallel with the business community and the city, because that's going to make a huge difference to our economy, a massive difference. And I think whatever we can do to make this environment more investable, make Edmonton more investable from a regulation and policy standpoint, it will in turn make Edmonton rich and rich in the way that we already outlined.
Yeah, you've described it in a holistic way. Loaded question for you, and maybe an unfair one. You tell me, but would you describe is Edmonton's municipal government, is Edmonton's city council and the business community at odds right now? Is there sort of that idea that one side believes that the other doesn't know what it's doing, or one side believes that the other doesn't have a valuable perspective to offer? Is this a unique situation?
I think there might be pockets of that. I think when we see, I know the business community, when they look at, to Puneeta's point, the surrounding communities, and they see how competitive it is, they want that in here in Edmonton. To be fair, Edmonton is one of the best places to develop in the country. They do a great job at that. So there's definitely some wins here at Edmonton in terms of outlining the future and where we can make ourselves more competitive. If a company, Streamflow is a really good example. They're in Edmonton, but they're looking to move just even a few blocks away because they could save $700,000 a year.
Right.
So this is something that, and just in tax alone. So that's one of those things to the point of, hey, let's get back our downtown property value. Let's make more money somewhere else so we can be competitive with the surrounding communities in the industrial heartland.
Okay, and we referenced the Little Potato Company as another example. I don't speak for them, obviously, but I mean, that's another example of businesses will move.
Yeah.
Businesses will move to save hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on their taxes. Thom speaks like very optimistically, though, about downtown Calgary, and you've been a huge advocate, Puneeta. I know you've been like the biggest cheerleader for Edmonton's downtown, and it's kind of like amid some tough circumstances, right? I mean, everybody knows what's going on, and vacancy rates are higher than people would like, and there's not as many cranes as people would like to see on the skyline right now, or at least most people. But do you have, like, stepping outside of your role for a second, if you can, just as a citizen, as a taxpayer, as a parent, like, do you have reason for optimism that 10 years down the line from right now, you could be doing an interview like this, talking about steps that Edmonton took to get right back where it belongs as a national player or an international player?
Yeah, I mean, I'm by nature an optimist, which is partly one of the biggest challenges I've had in this job.
Is that right?
So often I've been the one that's had to be the squeaky wheel, the, like, you know, angry advocate, the, you know, not good enough, not fast enough, because that's been the reality. And like, my true nature is to always be really optimistic and positive and to be a booster. And I love this city. I love our downtown. I wouldn't have done this job for 5 years.
That's obvious, yeah.
Yeah, I could not have done this job for 5 years if I didn't. But I do think we're heading in the right direction. I'm really optimistic about this election. What I'm really hoping, like part of why I really wanted to do this conversation today, is Edmontonians are wonderfully progressive. I think that's one of the great things about this city. We really care about each other. We really care about social issues that affect people's lives. We desperately need Edmontonians to care about the economy, because the city can't do any of the things that people want to talk about. People want to talk about housing and supportive housing and you know, obviously roads and parks and rec centers and all those things that affect people's day-to-day lives. The city has to be able to fund itself to do those things. The city doesn't get $1 of your income taxes or your sales taxes. Cities don't get any of that tax revenue, especially with our current provincial government. All we get is what we can collect from property taxes. And how much we can collect in property taxes is directly tied to how strong our economy is. So if you feel like you see candidates for council or mayor that are focusing too much on development or focusing too much on business, I just hope that Edmontonians can understand why that's important, and why that even I think you'll see some of the most progressive candidates will be talking about the economy and talking about development, because they have to. Because again, we're so fucked if we don't get this right.
Can I say my favorite?
Of course.
My favorite analogy for this. It's like, I love that the economical horse powers the social cart.
Yeah.
And it's like all those things were like, from an Edmonton standpoint, we care about all of those things. And of course we should, but we need the money to pay for them. And so it's not greedy talk. And that's when we're talking about profits and wealth and rich. Like, these are words that actually make everyone's life better. And we are at a really dangerous point here in the economy where we have low productivity, high inflation. We are looking at, you know, records of poverty that we haven't seen in generations. And so these are very real issues. And the way for us to work our way out of it is to focus on the economy, and therefore everybody will benefit from this. And I will say, Edmonton is a really awful place to be poor. Yeah. It is a really, when you look at the other major cities in Canada, Edmonton's it's a hard community to not have basic living standards.
Yeah, and our unemployment is way up. Like, you know, there's been a lot of great talk. Alberta was calling the last few years. It worked. They came. We've had mass migration to both Edmonton and Calgary. I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but well over 100,000 people have moved to Edmonton over the last couple of years. We don't have jobs for all of those people. Our unemployment rate is up to like
9.4.
9.4%.
Just in the city.
Just
the
in
region
Edmonton.
is lower.
Right.
But just in Edmonton, it's one of the highest in the country right now.
Yeah.
Tom, I'm putting you on the spot, Tom, but do you happen to know what an unemployment's like in Calgary approximately? And is Cowtown experiencing like similar challenges on that front, or is this like a tale of two cities?
I probably won't hazard a guess.
I'm putting you on the spot. I'll Google it.
Seven. We were between the 7% and 8%, but you know, we're not unlike Edmonton in that Calgary does operate in a region. We have a very strong economic region that is around us, and we we are working with them on specific economic initiatives as well to benefit the region as a whole. And I think that's something we're aware of.
Okay, so this is, by the way, Puneeta McBryan joining us from Downtown Business Association in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West, Heather Thomson with the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, and Thom Mahler with the City of Calgary. This is like, I'm going to ask this question as objectively as I can, Thom, because I recognize you're speaking on behalf of the City of Calgary. So to ask you about the politics is a little bit unfair. But is there a general sense, like in Edmonton right now, when we look at the municipal election, when we look at some of the leading mayoral campaigns, and there's a real race up here for who's going to next be mayor, there is a real sense that there are economic implications to whomever forms and leads the next city council. Is there that similar sense down in Calgary? Unique down in Calgary from Edmonton, the incumbent is seeking re-election with Mayor Jody Gondek. You've got some familiar faces. You've got several credible campaigns. Are Calgarians sort of seeing that election, would you say, along those same lines?
Well, it's an interesting question. I mean, I guess what I would say about that is like the work that I do in the downtown, although I work for the City of Calgary as the administration,
Right.
My role is really as a connector and a collaborator with all of the stakeholders within the Calgary downtown area. So regardless of who is the mayor and who is on council, there is an incredibly strong and cohesive group of individuals, organizations, and companies that have a coherent vision. So, just my casual glance at campaigns, the biggest issue in Calgary is really the safety of our downtown. I think that people are pleased with the economic trajectory we're on, but we still have incredible challenges. And I know Edmonton, every city in North America globally is having problems on the safety front. And I think that's probably in Calgary, that's what we're seeing the biggest issue so far.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we've talked a little bit about that in Edmonton as well. Not that it's a laughing matter. For the record, Calgary's unemployment rate in June, which is the most recent numbers we're privy to, 7.4%, which was down slightly from 7.8% in May, and this is referencing Alberta's economic dashboard. You can check out economicdashboard.alberta.ca for more on that. More with our Real Talk Roundtable in just a moment, but first, I mean, as we're talking about wealth, as we're talking about the province of Alberta, I want to make sure that you had an opportunity to hear from Marshall McAllister from North Road Investment Council. He's the founder at North Road, joining us just a few episodes ago to talk about or to answer that question. Would Albertans actually get rich by separating from Canada? Marshall applies his steady voice, his steady perspective to conversations on the Canada pension plan versus the Alberta pension plan, and it's really been resonating with Real Talkers. You can check out the full episode on our podcast archive. You can find it on our YouTube channel, and you can also check out the highlight. Just look for that title, Would Albertans Actually Get Rich by Separating from Canada? That was our August 21st episode. If you'd like to connect with Marshall, Carey, and their team, a steady hand, a studied voice to guide you through wealth and investing, you can check them out online at northroadic.com. Make sure you let them know you heard about it on Real Talk. Our friends at Friesen Brothers are ready to hook you up this Labor Day weekend. If you're going to be spending some time with the family, if you're going to be entertaining friends, if you're going to be firing up the barbecue, make sure you swing by your local Friesen Brothers in 16 different Alberta communities. Their butchers are ready to go. Whether it's Alberta protein, maybe you're looking for beef, bison, pork, chicken, whatever it is, or the freshest produce, Friesen Brothers has you covered. Everything in store, sourced as close as humanly possible. And don't forget, of course, the 1st of September, your next chance to knock 15% off your grocery bill of $75 or more. Friesen Brothers, celebrating 70 years in 2025, Alberta grown and Alberta owned. Hey, how great was Dr. Alex Rivard yesterday? In our most recent episode, the 26th of August, a brand new addition to the Athabasca University faculty in their Department of Political Science. Dr. Rivard talked to us about a number of different things, including the federal government, whether or not Mark Carney and maybe Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, owe Danielle Smith an apology as we all slowly lower our elbows. I thought he had such a great perspective on it. You know, we got a lot of feedback from people who said, gosh, he's just so reasonable. We were sure to pass that along. Dr. Rivard will be, of course, instructing classes in political science at Athabasca University this fall. And through the calendar year, one of many, even hundreds of programs and courses at Canada's Open University. Their world-class accredited online degrees and courses are designed so you can complete your education whenever and wherever it works for you. Learn more about the AU Advantage at athabascau.ca. And we're so proud here at Real Talk to be welcoming Peace Hills Insurance to the family. This is an Alberta-based insurance provider that's, of course, providing services across the country, and they do things differently. You can check out their website for more at peacehillsinsurance.com. If you want to learn about their charity partnership programs, if you want to learn about basically their track record since 1982, employing more than 250 local staff, working with more than 1,000 broker offices. If you're looking for the best rates and the best customer service on commercial, personal, and automobile products, look no further than Peace Hills Insurance at peacehillsinsurance.com. Thom Mahler joining us from the City of Calgary, Puneeta, McBryan, Edmonton's Downtown Business Association, and Heather Thomson from the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. Thom, before we talk about some of the specifics of the Edmonton Chamber's plan, I want to ask what Calgary did to, number one, either retain or attract investor confidence. And we hear a lot about red tape. What did the city do, or what did different organizations collaborate on to ensure that a lot of these hurdles were being laid down in front of people that really were willing to take some risks?
Yeah, thanks for that question, because that's the one thing you can do that doesn't cost any money is you can reduce regulatory risk. And so this goes back to 2016, I think. In the absence of any money, I used to sit on a committee at the Calgary Economic Development called the Real Estate Sector Advisory Committee, and we talked about creating some type of an exemption for development that would maybe entice somebody, if somebody wanted to do something to their building to enhance it, to retain some tenants, whether it's a facade improvement or do some kind of small addition. Could we eliminate some of the city permits? So we did. We piloted something called the Center City Enterprise Area for a few years. It's now become permanent. But the idea there is there is no risk. There's no appeal. We don't attach conditions for additional costs. We don't make them comply with current zoning bylaw rules, etc. They can just update their building as required to make it super easy. And that the thing that we hadn't anticipated at the time is that has now been extended in a lot of cases to a full conversion of an office building to a residential development. In some cases, they still require a development permit, but in most cases, they do not. So it means for an investor, they just have to buy the building, and then they just have to know technically, can we do this? Can we get a building permit? They don't have to worry about anything else. There's very few additional municipal costs that are attached to that. There's no levies. There's no infrastructure upgrades required around the building. That's what my group does. We have capital money. If we need some infrastructure upgrades, we can do it. So that's what we started doing before we even had funding, and it's now kind of caught on. It's something we're looking at a more citywide basis, and it's really just to give breathing space for people who have properties to just do what they need to do to attract investment and get financing to do projects.
As you're talking, Thom, I'm just like nodding with Puneeta. We're like, yes, we want that. One of the things that we're asking for in our action plan is this thing called the automatic yes policy, which is essentially us saying, hey, you want to develop? Yes. You want to work in tandem with the city? You want to develop and invest in the city? Yes. I think one of the things that we want is to make sure that Edmonton itself is investable. And a huge part of that is making sure it's easy to do business and removing as much regulation as possible. And so what we'd like to see is it being one of the easiest and fastest places to develop and invest, because we have a lot of natural resources here, and that can't be replicated necessarily, but something that we can do and something that we can scale up is this notion of making it easy and fast. Because when developers are choosing somewhere to invest, time is money. I mean, that's such a cliche saying, but like, if we can make this faster, they're going to invest here, and then we'll have more money poured into the economy, and so on and so on. And therefore, we'll see a lot of the benefits of that investment. And the other thing I think that's interesting to note is that Edmonton has a lot of domestic investment. So there's a lot of like internal wealth here that invests in Edmonton. Edmonton isn't known for global investment. And so I think being known for a place that's really easy to do business and to get through any sort of municipal red tape or provincial red tape, that will make a big difference to our economy.
Why do you think Edmonton hasn't attracted its fair share of international investment?
I think it's interesting. I mean, I'd like to know Puneeta's take on this too, if that's okay. I think, there's a lot of good things that come from the fact that Edmonton families, Edmonton developers invest in Edmonton. I think that's great. And I think when we're looking at some of those projections and where they're going to have the highest return on their investment, Edmonton isn't necessarily one of the main places that people think of. I think we're a global city for sure, but I think that in terms of where people want to get the fastest return, they're looking at rental rates, they're looking at, the wealth. I mean, Edmonton does have a lot of disposable income per person, but that doesn't necessarily equate and translate into where people want to spend billions of dollars of investment.
Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I'd agree. And I'm thinking about my colleagues at Edmonton Global that would not want us sitting here saying that Edmonton isn't, attracting enough for an investment, but it's true. Like, we're not. I think they probably know that. I think it's more a downtown problem than elsewhere. Like, I do think we have some really great success stories, even in retail, citywide. We've been able to attract some North American and global chains to Edmonton because it's a great test market, because we have high disposable income. But when we talk about, really significant billions of dollars, which I've said to City Council, we can't solve our economic problem $100,000 at a time. We literally need billions of dollars of investment if we're going to get ourselves out of this. And those investors, it's a double-edged sword right now, because one of the great things about Edmonton is that it's so affordable. It's great. It's great for housing affordability, and a lot of credit goes to the city actually for cutting red tape and making it a great place to develop residential. But the flip side of that is that rent is really low. Commercial rent and residential rent is really low. And so in an era of highly mobile global capital, if you have $1 billion to spend, you're going to make a lot more money investing that in Vancouver or Toronto or Calgary than Edmonton, because your rents are going to be really low in Edmonton. So it's like a really basic economic problem, and a real double-edged sword, because we do not want to lose our affordability. But the problem is then people with a lot of money can make a lot of money here.
Yeah. I think we can do. I like when people are like, let's keep Edmonton affordable. I think we can do better than that. I don't want us to kind of rest on only be affordable. Like, we can do better. We can be better than just affordable. And I do want to just say from the chamber's perspective, when we're talking about the investment, I'm so glad you brought that up, Puneeta. We are talking about the city itself. We're not talking about the region in terms of investment. So when we're looking at foreign direct investment, there is a lot of activity here in the region. We're looking at, if we're talking about the city itself versus other global cities, that's sort of the comparison we're looking at.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, Thom already brought it up, safety and perceptions of how investable our city is are really tied. So we hear all the time. The only group, I say this all the time, because we don't have it, Edmonton Economic Development anymore, the only group whose job it is right now to sell Edmonton is brokers, commercial real estate brokers. They're the ones bringing in investors, trying to buy assets, sell assets, get big retail tenants. People are always like, why don't you get us a Canadian Tire downtown? And I'm like, I would love to. I would love that. You try getting the attention of a major national or multinational chain when they don't feel like, when they come to our city and our downtown, that there's enough people around, that their employees would be safe, that their customers would be safe. So this perception of safety, which is tied to social disorder, a lot of homelessness, a lot of open drug use, all these things that we're always talking about, is directly tied to whether people are willing to do business in our city and our downtown.
I don't necessarily think, and maybe, go ahead, Thom.
Well, I just wanted to jump in on what Puneeta was saying, and Heather, the one piece of advice that we got when we started our program was, you're not going to get, we were flyover country. Our downtown was owned by pension funds, real estate investment trusts. It was a very corporate property owned, which decisions weren't made locally. So the advice I got was start talking to local investors and get them interested. They're the ones who love the city. So make it easy for them, figure out what they need to make it investable. So I actually have staff, we go knock on doors, we make cold calls, and we ask property owners, hey, what are you doing with your building? What are you thinking? What would it take for you to do something? And then we take that intelligence and we regroup with our real estate sector advisory committee, and we hash ideas around and figure out how we can move things forward. But making yourself attractive to invest from your local community first is what gets the attention of the outside investors. They will come back. They're starting to come back. to Calgary. We didn't think they would even come back a few years ago. But creating that business friendly investment for your own business sector is probably the number one strategic success that we have had. It's Calgarians that are saving our downtown.
I love that, Thom. And I think I do want to just say, like, it is an opportunity. I think, and the macroeconomic sense, it could be seen as a disadvantage that we don't have a lot of foreign direct investment. But Thom's absolutely right. We should be viewing this as an opportunity. And I think part of our challenge recently has been that the city of Edmonton often looks at those local developers, local investors, not as allies and partners and people who we need to try and help. And that's a culture thing that is slowly changing. We've just had that huge win. The downtown event park passed at council, the master agreement. So we're going to see a huge amount of investment and partnership between the city of Edmonton, the government of Alberta, and Oilers Entertainment Group. It was contentious.
It still is.
It still is.
Yeah.
It's still contentious. But I, despite all of the challenges, and I understand where people's concerns are coming from, that's what we need. And we don't have a lot of billionaires in Edmonton. We have like maybe two.
Yeah.
And one of them wanted to spend, hundreds of millions of dollars on something very, very exciting for the community. And I'm so glad that got across the finish line.
I think that we should be rolling out the red carpet for those conversations. And so, Thom, when you said we went door knocking to talk to your developers, I'm like, that's the attitude. Right. That's the partnership that I was saying earlier. Like, that's exactly what we want. We want to hear from the people who want to spend the money and how we can partner with them and not see them as, somebody across the table that we need to make a deal with. Like this, we're doing it together. We are literally building the city together, the business community and the city. So when you said you're door knocking, I'm like, that's it. That's the attitude.
I will give a shout out to Thom's counterpart in Edmonton, who's also named Thom. We have a downtown economy team here led by Thom Gervin, and they, I think, are trying to do that kind of stuff. They are trying to figure out how do we get, Edmonton businesses, how do we get, more development, more business, all these things. The Downtown Action Plan has a lot of it. I don't know that they're fully empowered. I don't know that the culture from City Council and that the leadership of our city of Edmonton is where it needs to be for even Thom's group here to do the work that needs to be done. So that's, I think, where this election is a really critical point, is like, are we going to take this seriously or not?
Yeah, this all comes back to the election, the municipal election across the province of Alberta on the 20th of October. I think I know the answer already, but will the Downtown Business Association or the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce be endorsing a candidate for mayor?
Definitely not.
No, definitely not.
Hey, but listen, we're always looking for the scoops here on Real Talk, so I had to ask. Thom, let me ask you this. I'm curious. Actually, I want to ask all three of you around the table for this, and this is purely anecdotal. But I live just outside of Edmonton's downtown. We've obviously invested in downtown, and I work in downtown every single day. I grew up in Calgary, spent a lot of time downtown. I was down there hosting an event just last summer. I remember rolling in around 3:30, taking that flyover off Memorial Drive to come into downtown, and I was annoyed and thrilled at the same time at how long it took me to get to my destination, Hotel Arts, because so many people were out recreating and so many people were out riding their bikes and so many people were out on patios and sidewalks, and the downtown was just bustling and busy, and I would love to see the same for my adopted hometown of Edmonton. Do you have a sense, and I'm going to ask all three of you here, like why there are such different realities in the downtown cores? I mean, Edmonton boasts this fabulous ice district. It's not like downtown is inaccessible. It's not like there's a lack of opportunity. Like, can you wrap your mind around why there's such different realities in the two major cities in Alberta?
Well, I don't spend a lot of time in Edmonton to know kind of the rhythms of the city, so to speak. But I do know part of what's changing in Calgary is that while we don't have as many employees in our downtown core as we did, our residential base has continued to grow, and our downtown and the area around downtown is quite compact. So people in the surrounding neighborhoods around our core use it as part of their general recreation. But also the other piece that's really working in our favor is our tourism sector is really strong. It's starting to grow and we're seeing lots of investment. So we had a couple of big conferences here this summer. The Rotary was here, and it's amazing when you see a bunch of people walking on the street. The locals come out of their apartment units too and join the fun, and it's infectious. So you can get that that feeling going. And it just draws people in because they know that there's something going on. And that's, we have a lot of work to go. This is fairly recent that we've seen this growth after the pandemic. It's taken a while. I think the other thing is Gen Z kids are finally realizing that, hey, it's kind of cool to be out of my room and actually hang out with some other people.
Yeah. Did you have a question for Thom? I know that both of you wanted to get in on something.
Yeah, I want to layer into it. Yeah, residential, I think is the main thing there. And when we look at the data and the science, it's like wherever there's a residential base, the economy happens. And whether there's socialization opportunities, the businesses go there. The one other thing I'd like just to highlight is just Calgary's downtown is prettier. And I know when people kind of roll their eyes when I use that word, but beautification and vibrancy, the ROI associated with those investments of twinkle lights, beautiful sidewalks, flowers, access to the river valley is another really interesting one in terms of recreation. And so when we see even the economics of fun, we're seeing that play out in downtown Calgary, because if people want to spend their time there, they're going to spend their money there. And so, yeah, I would say residential base, access to the river valley, and it is really pretty.
Yeah, I echo both of them. Density is a lot of it. Our downtown in Edmonton is way too big. Like, I would love to have a conversation with my predecessors and our mayors back in the 80s who decided that our downtown should be like 2.6 square kilometers. Like, we have office towers spanning way too far, and then just blocks and blocks of undeveloped land.
But
surface
like too late for that now, right?
Well, but we've got to fill it in. That's the thing, right? Like, we're building a donut city. We're rapidly building residential all over this city. We have more housing development per capita than I think anywhere else in the country. And none of it is happening downtown, or like very, 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 very little is happening downtown, which is crazy. So, I've been really critical of the city with our housing accelerator funds, things that we've worked with the federal government on. In my opinion, that should have all been laser focused directly downtown and in the immediate surrounding area, because that's where we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck, because it's going to boost downtown vibrancy, it's going to boost the downtown economy and commercial property values, all the things that Thom was talking about. We desperately need in Edmonton, because we have this massive, massive downtown and only like 13,000 people living there. So that's a huge part of it. The other thing I wanted to ask Thom about while I have him here, my favorite thing probably in the Chamber's municipal action plan is setting up a municipal development corporation. We've been talking a lot about this. I have people saying to me all the time when they go to other major cities across North America, oh, they had this thing, it was so cool. Downtown Boston had this like really cool like mini curling rink set up in the middle of their downtown. Or people want to talk to me about the East Village in Calgary, or they want to talk about the Forks in Winnipeg.
So good.
And the answer every single time, pretty much, is that it's a municipal development corporation or some sort of, in the States, it's usually not a municipal development corporation. It's just some sort of, private urban development corporation. But that's the answer. The Forks and the East Village, just to use our two closest, sort of sister city examples, those are municipal development corporations that pulled that off. We don't have one in Edmonton. And this council has had the opportunity, and the past council have had the opportunity to fix that. Instead, we decided to develop Blatchford as a bureaucracy, which is insane. And we all know how that's gone. Although apparently it's clicking along now, but a decade later.
I drive past it every day.
Yeah, it's wild. But again, so my question for Thom is maybe to either like refute me or to reinforce this like battle cry that I've been on for the last 5 years, because I think we could do so much more. And all the controversy of the downtown event park and having to have, Oilers Entertainment Group as the partner, I think all of that could have been avoided if we had a municipal development corporation that could have been our vehicle to get something cool like that done.
What do you think, Thom?
Well, I'm a huge believer in municipal development corporations. I've, growing up in Winnipeg, I know what's gone on with the Forks and the North Portage Development Corporation, and it's been, without them, like there would have been very little change that would have happened in downtown Winnipeg, and they've done an amazing job. And same in Calgary, our Calgary Municipal Land Corporation, they've been in business now, I think, since 2006. What gives them, they have such clarity of purpose. They have a very defined budget, which it's a tax increment finance supported. They have to invest accordingly in order to get a return on that to pay that debt back. So they have very clear mandate, but they've also been able to, they've developed incredible expertise in the areas of project delivery, placemaking, economics, real estate, and they're in a position to partner without having the direct political channels to have to go through. We have to, working at the city, we have to go through committees and we have to go through council, which not saying isn't a good thing. It actually works very well in many cases, but it is slower. It takes time and there's more complexity. So our council made the decision from a governance perspective is we want an organization to do that for us. So Municipal Land Corporation is still a city entity. It's a wholly owned sub, but they can move in very different ways. And they've had some incredible leadership there. Current leader, Kate Thompson, they just understand the business of what good urban development is and how to get there. And we learn from their expertise and they learn from us about how to navigate the city processes. We work together. So it's very much a partnership. It's not a competition, but they are a huge part of our success, and they've been successful now for almost 20 years.
Thom, I know that you're not going to endorse any candidates for mayor while you're here on the show, but let me know that I want to let you know that a candidate for mayor is actually endorsing you on this show right now. We've got Jeremy Farkas, who's watching our live stream presented by California Closets, and the former councillor who's running for mayor, as everybody knows right now, basically just says Thom's a great guy. We're lucky to have him as such a champion for our downtown. I want to let Jeremy know if you got a question in the next 5 minutes, you can pop it into our live chat powered by Park Power. I'll put it in front of our panel. This is, I guess at the end of the day, we look at this and everyone's going to go, okay, well, plans. They've heard a lot about plans. This is not taking away from the hundreds of hours that go into these plans and the investment that goes into these plans, but people want to know that a plan can be put into action, Heather, right? Like, obviously. So again, people can dig into edmontonchamber.com. You're looking at the municipal action plan for 2025. We'll link to it in the show notes. But the pillars for a richer Edmonton: fiscal responsibility, infrastructure planning, boosting investment, and competitive advantage. In so many ways, as your plan gets to this, Aaron Paquette touched on this as well. Edmonton City Councillor who's running for re-election, who will be re-elected, I will boldly state, and who absolutely deserves it, regardless of where your politics are, regardless of what you do for work, regardless of whether or not you're 18 or 81. Aaron Paquette is the type of person that I think approaches politics for the right reasons and in the proper direction, and I was really impressed by what he offered. But Alberta Girl's in our live chat, and she says, like another conversation about Edmonton's downtown. Paquette was very clear when he was on the show. It's not just, downtown's incredibly important, and a healthy city has a healthy downtown. Well, it's not just downtown. He talked about Greenfield. He talked about industrial. What's one key note about this action plan that you think every Edmontonian, even every Albertan, should be considering when we're talking about growing cities and when we're talking about true richness in every sense of the word?
That is such a hard question. I maybe my answer to it is, you're right, it's not one thing. But we definitely need to start investing in very large numbers to make a big difference. And so to your chat, yes, it's not just about downtown, but we do need to be focusing. If you have an asset at your disposal, even as like a human being in a personal sense, you need to make sure that asset is performing to the best of its ability to make your life better. And I think that's why we keep talking about downtown, is that we have this asset. It's 2 to 3 times larger than any other Canadian, and actually I will say North American downtown. And so when we're looking at this place here in the city and in the heart of the entire region, and it's not performing even half as good as we'd like it to, we have to be investing in it. And
I'd say half as good as we need it to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, how amazing would it be if the downtown was actually representing 20% of the tax base? Sure. Think about the funding that we could do it would just, the domino effect would be incredible. So that is something that I would like to say from this action plan. We're looking at creating a space that is investable from a regulation standpoint, but also we want to make sure that we're seeing the ROI of the spend of the dollar from taxpayers' perspective is being spent wisely. That's one of the actions that we have in there, is that we'd like to see an ROI analysis on budget items when things are being put forward to council.
Yeah, in other words, what's working and what's absolutely not. Yeah. Undeniably, bottom line, black and white. Some of the other things that I just, as a civilian, pick out of this from the policy recommendations, creating a downtown office conversion and infill fund. I think that that's particularly interesting. I think implementing a public safety action plan would be something that literally every citizen could get behind, except for maybe the criminals. I like establishing a mayor's fiscal roundtable. And this, implement a return to office plan for civic staff. How's Calgary managed that, Thom? Has everybody been ordered back to work? Are most people working 4 days a week from home? What's the reality down there?
Our standard is employees have to be in the office 3 days a week, and then they can work from home 2 days a week. If you're a leader, then you are in the office 4 days a week. That's our standard. What
are you seeing downtown Edmonton from stakeholders? Like, it's kind of funny because I see a lot of people, people are saying like they push back, like, oh, we're going to order our employees back to work, or they got to be back 4 days a week, and everybody goes, ooh. And then I sit there and I'm going, well, how on earth have people become so accustomed to, like, no offense, everybody, but we all know what's going on. People are doing their laundry, they're clipping their toenails, they're driving their kids to swimming lessons, they're meeting their friends maybe they're like they sign into Zoom, they turn their cameras off, they go outside, they chat with the neighbors. Everybody knows what's going on. Let's get real here. What are you hearing from downtown Edmonton stakeholders?
I love this, Ryan, because I always feel like such a boomer when I talk about this
Get
issue.
your ass back to work.
I feel the same way, and I feel like in my generation and for Gen Z, they look at me like, what is wrong with you? But I feel that I've never been a work from home person. Like, my first job was at a startup. I was like employee number 1. Yeah. And I made us get an office because I was like, I don't want to sit in my apartment by myself all day. Anyways, I agree. I think the private sector is also a problem. There's a few companies that are some of our biggest tenants downtown that are not in the office very much, and you feel it. And obviously a private business has every right to do it however works for them, but we're seeing that change already. Like, we're seeing a lot more people from some of our biggest employers downtown back in the office. The city of Edmonton, I think, is the same as what Thom described for city of Calgary. I think they're in the tower 3 days a week, maybe 2 days a week for some employees. I don't know how it works. But then there's the provincial government employees, which, as Thom earlier alluded to, is a huge part of our downtown. Like, part of the reason our downtown's relatively stable, through economic ups and downs, is the government of Alberta is one of our biggest constituents. They have a lot of offices and a lot of employees, and they're still not in the office a whole lot. So I know there's still more work to be done on getting provincial employees back.
All right, listen, I've kept the three of you longer than we asked for, but the conversation has been flowing, and I'm deeply grateful for it. We always like at the wrap of a Real Talk Roundtable to give each panelist an opportunity to put something in front of the audience, just in case we've left something untouched, just in case there's a gem of wisdom. So, Thom, out of your Calgary office, why don't we go to you first? One thing to think about in the context of truly making Alberta rich in every sense of the word.
Well, I want to speak on behalf of urbanists everywhere. Is like the success of urban regions globally is going to be clusters of cities and clusters of urban regions. And Alberta is blessed to have two incredibly successful, dynamic, growing cities that are affordable. The more we can work together and are being successful and cluster and share and be complementary, it's huge for Alberta. We're very blessed in that way. And so wherever we can learn from each other, that's why I like to come to these things. Wherever Edmonton can learn from Calgary and Calgary can learn from Edmonton, we're better off as a province.
Well, it was awesome to have you joining us from Calgary, Thom, and we truly appreciate it. Puneeta, your call to action.
It's the economy, stupid. Anyone who doesn't know, I'm not calling Ryan stupid. It's like a common.
No, it's a great quote.
It's a common refrain during American presidential elections.
Yeah.
Americans talk about it all the time. Like, most of the issues we're talking about comes back to it's the economy, stupid. So I don't think we talk about that enough in municipal elections, and especially in Edmonton. I feel like, again, as a very progressive city, we sometimes end up feeling kind of allergic to economic issues and business issues, and we don't want to talk about those things as much, at least from what I see. But it really, really, really matters. And so that's my plea to Edmontonians is downtown matters, whether you like it or not. It's inconvenient and you're sick of hearing about it, Alberta girl. But it really matters.
Nice memory.
And the economy matters.
Okay. Heather, last word to you.
I'll double down on what Puneeta's saying. I think when we look at Canada, even from a macro sense, we're in dire straits from an economic lens. And to be fair, Alberta is doing the best out of every single province and territory. We are rich and we have an opportunity to capitalize on that. But I will say, generally speaking, things from an economic perspective, a lot of economists are saying it's never been this bad when we look at that low productivity. So when my call to action is be informed this municipal election, care about the economy, and I would say vote with intention of where we need to go for not just the next 4 years, but for future generations. And we do need to care about the economy.
Well, I know, and there's no questioning how the three of you feel about the cities that you're calling home, and obviously the proof is in your investment in the roles that you've had and that you currently hold. Thom Mahler's been joining us as Director of Downtown Strategy, leading the team stewarding the city of Calgary's $400+ million investment to build a thriving, future-focused downtown. Puneeta McBryan with a couple of months left in her mandate as CEO of the Downtown Business Association. Would you like to take this opportunity right now to let us know what you'll be doing next in a Real Talk exclusive? We love our scoops.
I will be back with an exclusive once I know what I'm doing.
Okay,
next,
right
so
on. Maybe you
thanks,
come
Ryan.
co-host here with me. What do you think? There we go. And Heather Thomson is doing an incredible job as Vice President at the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. And she's here, of course, on behalf of that entire team. You can view their municipal action plan. Let's make Edmonton rich together by visiting edmontonchamber.com. To the three of you, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. All right, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Thom. This interview has been made possible with the support of, you want to talk about businesses? You want to talk about people that are investing in these cities? How about California Closets? As a matter of fact, beautiful headquarters. They've got showrooms in Calgary and Edmonton right now. They're doing all their manufacturing in Alberta. California Closets of Canada, a truly Canadian-owned, a family-owned business, providing the absolute best when it comes to custom closets and storage solutions for your entire home. It all starts with a free design consultation. Whether you're looking for a garage storage system, I'm not going to start talking about winters approaching, but at some point you're going to need to figure out where you're going to store your summer tires when you switch it over the winters, right? You're going to know where you're going to hang your garden hoses. And where's that hammer that you've been missing forever? California Closets does garage storage systems in ways that'll blow your mind, and they can work with any budget. Also, primary bedroom, master this sort of like idea of a walk-in closet that will change your morning every single time you walk in. Have you ever thought about that? Dreamed of that big master plan? They've got all the kind of tiny little touches, lighting accents. I always talk about the drawers that you can slam, but they don't really slam. It's the little things for me with California Closets. The best in the business. You can request that free consultation today at californiaclosets.ca. Imagine opening your utility bill. Imagine opening your electricity bill and seeing zeros across the board. Not flinching. Can you imagine? That's what solar can do. By producing your own power, you can save, between 20 to 100% on your electricity costs. And a lot of solar systems these days, especially with better prices, increased efficiencies, these systems are paying for themselves in like 5 to 10 years. Plus, with net metering with Solar by Kubi, you can actually earn credits for the extra power that your solar system is producing in the summer, and then use that to cut your winter bills. It's benefits year-round. If you'd like to explore this, you can check out kubi.ca. That's kubi.ca/solar for a free quote and more information. Kubi is solar simplified and people powered. Our friends at UCAN Youth Services are going big. They're investing in downtown, by the way. A beautiful new building, the grand opening soon to come, right in downtown Edmonton, just south of Grant MacEwan University. We're thrilled for them. It's going to allow them to double their service offerings as they work with young people aged 12 to 24 who, quite frankly, are living at-risk lifestyles right now. They're struggling. They're interacting with law enforcement on a regular basis. And the last thing on their minds, quite frankly, is employment opportunities. They're just trying to get through the day-to-day. The team at UCAN Youth Services, UCAN sees huge potential in these young people and works to ensure that these young people feel valued, that they recognize their potential, that they can embrace opportunities and experience success. You can learn more about what the team at UCAN is doing by visiting their website. That's ucan.ca. And for those of you that are maybe looking at tax returns, maybe you're doing your estate planning, the team at UCAN would obviously love to be considered there. I'll tell you, this is an investment that you can make in your city, that it'll pay dividend after dividend after dividend. Of course, all tax deductible, those donations. Learn more at ucan.ca. And Johnny, I was telling you a few days ago, I had a chance to go golf the ranch with my buddies. And I'll tell you, Alberta's #1 public golf course is looking absolutely phenomenal right now. The ranch, absolutely beautiful shape with all that rain. And they got a ton of sunshine as well. The fairways have never looked better. The greens are looking great. We look at party value there. That's what we like to call it. My favorite ranch holes, 15 to 18. Just because the greens are pristine doesn't mean my buddies can hit a putt. No, it doesn't mean it. But still, we had an unbelievable day. You can book your tee time today at the ranch by visiting theranchgolf.com. Check this video out. Once you tee off on 2, you hit that big tee shot for that par 5. Keep an eye out for the Real Talk advertisement there on the GPS. Real Talk, no gimmies. We love our partnership with the ranch. Home to the Real Talk Golf Classic year after year after year. And Alberta's #1 public golf course. Again, tee times today at theranchgolf.com. Now, I see a lot of people in our live chat, powered by Park Power, talking about the quarters. I don't know, when you moved to Edmonton, I'm pretty sure, I feel like the quarters dream may have been done. Do you remember what year it was that you moved to Edmonton? I think I was here like a few years before you, maybe. I was here, moved here actually New Year's Eve of 2006.
2008.
2008 for you. So, yeah, not too far behind me. At that time, Edmonton City Council had made a big commitment to this like sort of East Jasper Avenue neighborhood. Real Talkers, I don't know if you remember that, but that was like, you know, basically a huge vision. They were talking about like these sort of like Venetian water canals, and they had big plans for this area to be activated. And if you know the capital city of Alberta at all, you know that East Jasper Avenue is like should be prime real estate overlooking the river valley, and a ton of room for development there. There's a ton of parking lots that are sitting there empty. There's a lot of derelict buildings. Like, it's a real disaster, and it has been for decades of neglect, and there's been really no confidence in the investment there. So the quarters was a big vision, and it made perfect sense. And we were among, I'm sure, many people that decided to sort of, push our chips into the middle on the quarters and buy a condo there. And for whatever reason, I think there's a lot of reasons, and I've got a lot of speculation, but it just stalled out, and it died, and it faltered, and it never really materialized. Now there's about a block of cobblestone that you can go check out and dream of what could have been as tumbleweeds blow across it. A lone hotel that sits there, I imagine, waiting to be surrounded by restaurants and other businesses. But it just goes to show that, like, people can have big plans and big visions, but unless you've got investor confidence, unless you've got resolve from subsequent city councils, that stuff just doesn't happen. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this municipal election. Calgary and Edmonton, very different scenarios, different circumstances. We know that there's going to be a new mayor in Edmonton, and I appreciate our friends at the Edmonton Chamber for putting that on our radar. Some folks got a little touchy in our live chat when I was talking about the back to work stuff. As a matter of fact, Earmuffs kids, but Whitrium in particular, invited me to fuck off on several occasions for even bringing up the back to work, which I recognize a lot of people have become very comfortable working from home, but this was like not a thing before COVID, or at least not in meaningful fashion. A lot of people could like work from home on Fridays, and some businesses would have those flex days where you could work from home if you didn't have any sort of like duties in the office or whatever. But it really became a thing for obvious reasons during COVID, and now I think it puts employers in a tough spot when they want to get their staff back, but right now everybody's so used to working from home that it feels like a big bridge to cross. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never sort of seen myself as somebody, and this is maybe just my personality. Everybody can be different. I can't imagine working from home every single day.
Yeah, you're an out there guy, though.
Out there guy for sure.
I think work from home is great.
Yeah,
it's great for
you
people.
think for 5 days a week?
Sure.
Do you think that our working relationship would be the same if you were
Well,
operating
no,
the show
'cause
from home and I was
that's
at home?
obviously not. But I mean, a majority of jobs can be done from home online now, right?
I don't know.
And if you're going to replace people with AI anyways, why are you telling them to come into work?
AI. Well, maybe that'll be the thing.
But I think it opens up also, people with disabilities, people who just have mental health issues. The world is a fucked up, crazy, horrible place, especially face to face. I mean, look what goes on in, I'm not going to say our live chat, but just online. And then you got to go out and face it. If you can mentally do what you've been trained to do or what you went to school to do or what you're good at from home, why not?
Yeah, Ytrium says, Ryan, you give a dumbass option, you get an appropriate response. I think that this is just the entitlement that some people have. I don't know Ytrium, but if they're inviting me to fuck off several times in my live chat, I'll sort of make some assumptions here. Is like, I think some people have just become so accustomed to the way that things are going in their own workplace that they can't imagine why employers might want them there. I'm a person that really believes in like collaboration, team spirit, brainstorming, like team building, those sorts of things. And I just don't think that that's going to happen. I know for a fact that it doesn't happen over Zoom calls. And so I think that that's probably one of the arguments that I would make, one of many arguments I would make why I think people would come back to work. We've got, I know I can think of several friends off the top of my head, CEOs, executive directors, private business owners that ordered their employees back to work. And the choice was like either come back to work or find new employment. And it was a non-starter. And I think I said to one of them in particular, I don't think he'd probably want his company named here. I don't think he's looking for the heat from Ytrium and others. But I said, like, so what's your plan? If like you've got some like really integral or important employees that decide not to come back to the workplace. And he was like, well, basically they don't share our vision, right? Because our vision is that we want to have people back collaborating in the workplace. They've missed and maybe part of it has to do with the fact that they've got a big lease on a big building and they want to make sure that everybody's in there and they're making the most of it. But their idea was that their collaborative spirit or that their team was suffering without having everybody there. Like he specifically referenced to me, like, people used to pop by other people's desks and just check in on the projects and ask how they were going. Or you could call somebody from the office and they'd pop in and you could bounce some idea off them. And I think that like without that, maybe not every business suffers. Like I think like a call center, or I can think of there's lots of examples of, you're right. If you're number crunching, data entry, maybe that sort of a thing.
Graphic
it's not
design.
as important. Graphic design for sure. And then on the flip, when you talk about like the gig economy, a lot of people are sole proprietors or contractors, and they are working from home because that's where they run their business. But it's wild when you look at downtown cores in particular, not just downtown cores, and you look at some of this empty office space. And then we talk about the lack of productivity, or we talk about how businesses are really sort of endeavoring to reach their full potential but not getting there. And that step to me just seems like an obvious one. I'd be curious to see where we are 5 more years from now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it works different for different businesses, but I'll also agree that, as you're saying, team building and being together, but workspaces are also filled with competition and aggression and intimidation, and they're very superficial. They're based on looks. And, if someone can do a job from home as good as someone else who may be more attractive than them, or has a better suit, or knows how to talk to someone in a room better, what's the difference? If that's their key to success, I mean, nowadays, if you can do it, why not?
Yeah. Vet Fashion says if the work from home productivity is so much higher, then why don't we use that to cut staffing or increase workloads? 80s Fatify says, on the other hand, guys, sometimes the insane chatter in workplaces drove me up the wall. Fair enough. That's, I think, of a case of the Mondays in office space. Tony says, I actually love going into the office. It's easier for collaboration, but if I need to get shit done, I love working from home because I have less distractions. Kenzie says people ought to be back in the workplace. It makes the world go round. Nick says it's great to say, Ryan, that you appreciate those things. I think Nick's referencing the collaborative ideas, the brainstorming, the networking. Says, but it's been shown that people are more effective working from home. I mean, maybe that's true. I just can't see it because I know how everybody's all of a sudden available for lunch and golf now than they didn't used to be. Gilles says the question is, of course, why do employers want people back? Right? He's right. He says, you're correct. Some things are better in person, but that doesn't apply to all people. Idris says there's trade-offs on all sides when it comes to back to work. Says Idris has been a remote team member for 4 years, says it has advantages and disadvantages, says hybrid would be awesome to me. Sharon says, don't get me wrong, I love my job. I just wish my coworkers were next to me. I miss collaborations. I miss lunches. I miss the social aspect of it all. That's also, you've identified that. That's the context for me too. It's like the socializing, right? Like being around other people. It feels like that kind of idea of like iron sharpening iron.
I also agree that we're two very, we're extroverts. So, and a lot of people these days are introverts. Yeah. And I am not as much of an extrovert as I used to be. Is that right? Well, I'm just becoming more, I don't go, I used to be nightlife every night, kind of, I take every instance to go out. And I still do that. Obviously, we still go to all these galas and whatever. But, you're
Alberta's busiest DJ.
You've got to admit, too, when you get like those 2 days off and like the Sunday or the Monday, you have nothing to do. It's a relief. It's a bit of a relief.
I don't know what to do with myself.
Relax, right? To relax. And I'm starting to enjoy that more. And I'm trying to tell myself, you need to enjoy that more because this high frequency. What does he say in Wolf of Wall Street when he's talking to him
I don't
in the original business lunch? Matthew McConaughey. He's like, it's very high frequency above the shoulder. Acidic shit.
Is that
it
the part?
It is kind of like that over and over don't get me wrong. I love coming downtown. I love being in a bustling building. I love talking to people online. But day after day after day, it gets to be much. It gets to be much day after day after day. Yeah. You got to take some downtime, right?
Was that the lunch when he was like,
oh yeah,
and like pounding his chest?
And he's like, you got to stay calm. It's very above the shoulders, acidic shit. It gets.
Man, I gotta watch that movie.
You're gonna implode.
I gotta watch that movie again. Chelsea the Ginge says hybrid is the perfect option. You still get the face-to-face. You get the benefits of working from home.
I agree. If you have a workload and that day it's like the majority of your workload can be done from your computer, take that day at home. If you've got a meeting where you need to meet someone for a sales, you're closing a sale or like a big group meeting, go into work. I think hybrid is a great idea.
T6 in our live chat, powered by Park Power. By the way, get exclusive savings on internet, electricity, and natural gas by checking out parkpower.ca/realtalk. T6 says their hybrid work arrangement, 2 days in office, 3 days at home per week. That's a pretty good setup.
Yeah.
I
like it.
Yeah, man. It's.
I do agree with that comment too. You do get a lot more done at home because there is no distraction. You've got your headphones on, boom, you're dialed in, you're killing it. Maybe your spouse or partner or whoever, your roommates are at work, or maybe they're in their home office too. But you know what I mean? You're separated. And then maybe you get an extra hour a day to spend with family or walk the dog or go for a jog or whatever it is, right? Which is healthy.
You also, and now, so if you get, if you talk about this work-life balance, you talk about sort of like where people's mental health, generally speaking, if your employees perceive that there is a better work-life balance or that they're more satisfied in their role by working from home or in a hybrid scenario, and your productivity is not suffering, that's got to be a key deliverable, right? Like to state the obvious. If the productivity doesn't suffer, I can see it. Scarlett, for example, says she attends a lot of community events. She says so working from home is a nice balance to recharge. That's kind of an example there. And T6, by the way, follows up to say they can only watch Real Talk live if they're working from home. So we support T6 working from home every single day, of course.
I do recognize a lot of these comments in the chat are like, get back to work. But hey, you guys are here every day. So you're in the chat every day. But maybe they're at work. But I think the bottom line is if the employer's happy, if the employer's happy with the rate of production, the amount of production, the work getting done, if the business is successful, why not do hybrid? Why not see if it works? Why not do 4 days in the office, 1 at home, or 2 days at home, or whatever like that? I think the bottom line is the employer happy and is the business successful? And there shouldn't be any discussion past that on whether it's right or wrong to work from home or not, right?
Yeah, Corradetti Motorsports with a good observation says a working from home model could greatly improve rural life. Says those that are living in small rural villages, hamlets, towns can benefit from small town Alberta or small town Canada. Yeah. Vamp says it's hard to be an effective worker in a home environment, at least for Vamp. Vamp, I'm the exact same way, 100% the exact same way. Says it would be like trying to work in an office with like a big screen TV, kind of like ours, Johnny, with Top Gun playing and a daycare in the corridors. Matthew says, I'm not saying hybrid's good or bad. I'm just saying we should have serious discussions around it first. Anubis says they fully work from home, says I'm very productive. Despite what everybody's saying here. All right, I'm trolling you guys a little bit. I just know that, for me, if I had all day, every single day, and at the end, it's like, remember we were talking to that letter carrier, and we've been talking a lot about like the Canada Post strike, and we want to make sure that stays on our radar too, because it's very relevant, obviously. Max Fawcett with an interesting take within the last couple of weeks on this show on how to save Canada Post. He says, like it or not, he foresees big changes coming. But one of the benefits that letter carriers have had for a long time is like when your route was done, your day was done. So if you were the type of person that wanted to, take a little bit more time and stop and like, pet the dogs you get to know, or like talk to the little old ladies that meet you at the door and like really be a fixture in the neighborhood. But it takes you a little bit longer to complete your route. So be it. If you're one of those like masters of efficiency and you could bang, they got to like sort and carry and drop off the mail, deliver the mail. And then they're done 3 hours early. They weren't done early because their job was done, right? And this is one of the things that's up for negotiation now with CUPE, or CUPW, I think it is, with their union and with Canada Post, is that the employer right now is looking for like straight up hours. So when your work is done, you're not done. You're done when your time is done. And if you're in a type of scenario where you're done when your work is done, work from home is probably even more appealing. You might be motivated to get it done more quickly, or if your employer really doesn't care, if you start at 8 a.m. or if you start at 11, you can sleep in, still get your work done by end of day, then I can understand why that would be appealing to a lot of people, right?
Yeah, and I understand this doesn't work for every business. With us, like if we get our work done, we're usually thinking like, what else can we do to make stuff better? But I also agree there's some days where like if you're done your work, going home and getting a few extra hours sleep or relaxing or being with your family, like that can improve your mood for the next day, right? So
for sure.
Again, I think I don't think there's any set plan like this is what we're going to do every week. Employers have to like connect with their employees and see how they're feeling, how they're doing mentally, physically, and in terms of their workload. And I think hybrid is great for that. I think, on a day where like, hey, I feel like shit today. I also look like shit, but I know I can sit at my keyboard in my pajamas and bang out this proposal that you need me to do in 45 minutes. Sure, stay home today and do it.
Yeah, I love what Jillian does in her classroom. She says, if I want to listen to Real Talk Live, I got to give a test right at 8:30 in the morning. I love that, Jillian. You're teaching your students intellectual fortitude to be tested right out of the gates. Tommy Temper says he's hard at work at home. In our live chat, which is great. Working class guy says, I work in a hybrid environment. Says, I want to get stuff done with zero distractions. I avoid the office and all the people stopping in just to visit. So look at this, people clapping back at me saying there's way more distractions at work than at home, which can be fair. I mean, we all view things. I always view things through my own lens, right? So when I'm at home, there's like this wonderful, beautiful, amazing 3-year-old. There's a puppy. There's another dog. There's things that need to be fixed. I need to like fix the latch on the fence. I need to stop the faucet from dripping. There's laundry that needs to be folded. And for me, the way that my brain works, it's like oftentimes my work obligations, unless they're immediate, are like number 6 on the list. You know what I'm saying? Another good point here. I think it was from Nick. I lost the comment, but I think Nick said basically, he said, Jespo, a lot of people, here it is, people are available for lunch when working from home because they don't have their commute time, which is also a great point, to be honest with you. A lot of people commuting, I don't know, South Side, probably 40 minutes to get to their jobs, 30 minutes, 25 minutes. You're saving yourself an hour to an hour and a half a day. He says golf might be something else, though. Managers need to effectively manage. I guess you could do business on the golf course, right? Yeah, I think you can probably do that. Others of you are just sharing your personal stories. I love that. If this maybe qualifies for you as a flamethrower, you want to bring the heat, maybe something I said, maybe something you heard in the chat, you can always send us an email to talk@ryanjesperson.com. The flamethrower this week will be presented in our next episode. That's Thursday. And of course, we're looking forward to that one. That is going to be the 28th of August. That's going to be our final episode up until the 2nd of September. Off to BC to take care of some business, and we will be back. So the 28th, tomorrow, we're waiting to confirm an interview. I'm not going to announce it yet, but if it happens, I think it's going to be of great interest to this audience, regardless of where you are in Canada. And on the 2nd, we're going to make an announcement tomorrow on who will be joining us, and we're very geared up about that. We have another announcement related to Real Talk in just a second, but first, it is a Wednesday, and every Wednesday, courtesy of our friends at Tourism Jasper, we have a chance to basically head out to the Rocky Mountains and, of course, celebrate all that Jasper has to offer. It's MyJasper Memories, proudly presented by our friends at Tourism Jasper. This episode of MyJasper Memories, presented by Tourism Jasper, is going to get a little bit personal for me because I am just back from Jasper National Park. This is an annual tradition that I am so immensely proud and honored to be a part of. This was the 25th annual Tee Up for Tots golf tournament in support of the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation. This tournament was originally founded by Oilers Hall of Fame defenseman Kevin Lowe and obviously well-known and beloved clothier, the renowned tailor Sam Abu Hassan. And over the course of those 25 years, they are closing in on $20 million raised for the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation. Absolutely remarkable. The Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge Golf Course, in its 100th year, its centennial season, playing host to this. What do you think of that panoramic shot I took, by the way, there? Look at that. If you're listening to this on the podcast, you got to check this out on YouTube. The course right now, the fairways, the greens, the tee boxes in impeccable shape. And then, of course, there are signs of the wildfire all around. Kind of a stark reminder of what this community and what this golf course has rebounded from a year ago. Here I am on their iconic tee box, Johnny, hitting over Lac Beauvert. I'm happy to let you know that I did place that 5-wood right in the middle of the fairway for once in my life. A wonderful day of golf. As a matter of fact, one of the best days of golf I've ever enjoyed. And of course, all of this for a wonderful cause. We gathered as a group. There's our buddy Chad Helm. Make sure you check out his work at thehelmclothing.com. Chad's always making sure that I look my best when I'm hosting events. It was wonderful to have him out there in support. And as we gathered there in that Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge, a couple of hundred people there with one thing on their mind, and that was raising support for the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation. In particular, some innovative and imperative equipment for ENT surgeons at the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation. There you see an incredible fundraising total, and a shout out to everybody involved in raising a record-setting, Johnny, $1.2 million for the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation.
Amazing.
Now, you know I had to throw this photo in. After Daddy was done work, I got to reconnect with my family. That's Wyatt Rudy outside Jasper Pizza Place. You know, keep that photo up for a second. You see what Wyatt does? He wants to get a big cheese pizza, and we highly recommend the 4-cheese pizza at Jasper Pizza Place. Now, we tell him he's going to share with his little brother Noah, right? Because he wants to get a large pizza. We say, you got to share. So he takes his pieces, all of them at once, and stacks them up on the side plate so little brother can't get them. You see that? That is some real strategy at play from 10-year-old Wyatt Rudy, who absolutely crushed that pizza. Went for ice cream after, just walking along Connaught Drive and having a wonderful family time together. There is nothing like an evening out, a summer evening out in Jasper as a family. So we've got our ice cream, and we're walking along the main drag there, along Connaught, and check this out. The boys are having so much fun, and Johnny, what do we come across but this brand new installation? Check out this Jasper sign that they've got there. This is absolutely,
nice.
Yeah, they talk a lot in tourism about how, in hospitality, how you want to have these Instagrammable spaces. Well, this certainly qualifies. Noah Bear was absolutely captivated by the northern lights there at play. And then our family was sure to walk just a short distance further to this wonderful and incredibly powerful Indigenous exhibit. There's a whole park space there that Jasper National Park and Parks Canada has installed in collaboration with Indigenous elders and advisors, and it is absolutely marvelous. We were there at night, and you can see the light there of that installation just hitting it in such a beautiful fashion. Nothing like a couple sunny days at the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge, as well as the boys had their Camp JPL hats on. That's a really, really great option for families. The kids get out and experience nature on these little hikes and paddles. Wyatt doing such an amazing job as a big brother in the pool. It was like 27 degrees, not a cloud in the sky there. Absolutely stunning. Quality family time like you wouldn't believe. The eats along the way were amazing. These are those meatballs at Jasper Pizza Place that we were enjoying. I highly recommend those. Don't worry, just the appetizer. I had to crush the pizza as well. And on our final morning there, nothing like a crackling fire. As we enjoyed breakfast, I recommend the Eggs Benedict. Everybody had theirs. The boys loved the waffles at the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge. They've done some real improvements. These are the lakefront suites. So every suite has its own custom and private fire pit, so you can take it in and enjoy. They got the staff members that are coming by every single morning to restock your kindling, restock your fire.
That's
they even make sure
amazing.
you got a big water bucket there so you can make sure your fire's out when you're leaving to go out for the day. Obviously, everybody's paying close attention to that, right?
Downtown at night looks pretty.
Oh my gosh, look at this.
Too,
you know, just strolling, right? Like just out for a stroll, just taking it all in. We didn't come up with a sort of a big plan ahead of time. We wanted to go and just check out the businesses, do some window shopping. My wife Carrie and I both agreed it was time to just leave some cash in Jasper, and we're able to check out there that Autos Cash. We were talking about that new spot on a previous episode of MyJasper Memories as well. Of course, we checked out the Moline Range, Jasper Brewing Company. I mean, just all these businesses, Evil Dave's. I mean, just all the ones that we know and love. So good to be back there in Jasper. And our thanks to everybody, involved in the hospitality business there that is just going above and beyond right now. To extend such a warm welcome to visitors. A reminder as well, one of the cool things that's been going on now, an initiative with Parks Canada, all the way through till the end of this weekend, till September 2nd, admissions free in Jasper National Park. So that's basically all the way through Labor Day. 25% off camping as well, which is a super cool option. And just in case you didn't have enough reasons yet to visit Jasper before summer's up. I know we've hit the point where we're starting to talk like this. The Jasper Folk Music Festival is getting set to kick off 2 days. That's Friday, September 5th, Saturday, the September 6th as well. About 15 bands participating here, including, I love seeing Brass Tactics there. Remember, they kicked us off at the Real Talk Golf Classic at the Ranch. Those guys have such an amazing time and such an amazing vibe. Honey Cowboy, you got Leroy Stagger out there after dark again. Captain Thunderpants, Northbound Train, Warrior Women, the Strumbellas, which is going to be absolutely amazing. Everybody knows them, the 2-time Juno Award-winning alternative group. The Jasper Folk Music Festival is a family-friendly event. Again, 15 shows over 2 days. You can learn more by visiting jasperfolkmusicfestival.ca. And don't forget, you can plan your Jasper getaway. Check out all they have to offer. Cabins, cottages, hotels, restaurants, bars, the nightlife that Johnny and I have known and loved over the years by visiting Tourism Jasper's website. That's jasper.travel. MyJasper Memories is proudly presented by Tourism Jasper Wednesdays right here on Real Talk. We got to get you back out there as well. Every single time I'm out there, people come up to us and they say, when is Real Talk going to hit the road? When are you guys going to start doing remote shows in Jasper? And I know that that's something that obviously I think that the audience would love. Maybe we've been toying with the idea of maybe taking the show on the road with like a live studio audience, which I think would be really cool. So that'll be a lot of fun. But, I mean, a lot of people are talking about their own Jasper memories. I want to let you know as well, of course, you can always send us an email to talk@ryanjesperson.com. Coming up in a couple of weeks, we'll be featuring a pretty meaningful journey by one Real Talker who shared with us their family's celebration of life, something that they decided to observe in the town of Jasper, taking that in along the way. I know that there's just a ton of meaning that town holds for a lot of people, and so that's something we'll be keeping an eye on. So this brings us to the wrap of this episode, John. And typically at this point in the show, I know that we want to announce who's coming up next, but the fact of the matter is we are working hard right now on convincing somebody who's getting set to make a big announcement, they say, tomorrow. We're trying to convince them to make it on Real Talk. Cool. So as we wrap, Real Talkers, I will leave you with this. If our advocacy and lobby efforts are successful, then there will be an exclusive announcement here on Real Talk tomorrow. Somebody we've been looking forward to talking to, somebody whose name is well known in national political circles, but becoming a little more relevant, or not, I guess we'll see, right here in our home province of Alberta. In the meantime, if there's subject matter you'd like to see covered on the show, if you got something on your mind, our inbox is wide open, or leave a comment on our YouTube episode. Thanks for supporting Real Talk.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton. Real Talk's editorial board is Supriya Dwivedi, Ahmed Ali, Brandy Morin, Ann Castleman, Corey Hogan, Harman Candola, Catherine O'Neill, and Chris Henderson. Member Emerita, Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjesperson.com.